All right, here we go. We are live. It is 1:00. No, it's noon. Get it together, know what day and time it is. Hey, everybody, Dr. Paula Ruffin. I'm here with my good friend, Jill Beckman. And if you have seen any of the previous videos that Jill and I have done, I think it might be 2 or 3. I can't remember. But we did a couple of videos. One, we went in depth on magnesium. We went in depth on calcium. And why do I feel like there's a third one that we did, right? Somewhere in there? Can't quite remember.
I think it was those two.
I think so. So we're coming to you again. So a little back history. I've known Jill for, I think I met Jill before I was pregnant. So I've known Jill for almost 20 years. Our daughters were raised together until they became teenagers and more like sisters. And then, all the things that go along with that. But Jill and we have met every month. I would probably say every month. I don't know if we've missed many for the past 20 years. And she's been a really critical part of my functional medicine path and encouraged me to do multiple programs and certifications. And so Jill keeps me up to date on all of the things. So what are the latest studies? What are the latest research? What new products do we have that we know we can bring about to help you, the consumer? So there is a new probiotic on the block. And I wanted to do this with Jill, but before we reveal that to you, when we talk about probiotics, a lot of you ask the question, how do I know which one to take? So we're going to talk about which one to take. But before we get into that, we're going to talk about what to look for in a probiotic. How do you know it's of good quality? And then we're going to talk about all the multiple strains and all the different ways they can help you figure out which one to choose, and then reveal this latest, it's like almost a miraculous probiotic. What would you say to all of that, Jill?
This new probiotic is putting a little spring under my step, because this is the skinny people have more of it probiotic. And so we learned of it through the fecal transplant situation, that people who are thinner and less inflammation have more of this probiotic living in their gut. So we all have it, but it's 1 to 5%. And so that is determined by your food habits, your genetics, and frankly, we're still learning what is that determined by, because it was only discovered and named in 2004. So,
right,
yes.
About the time we met.
Wow.
And so that brings up a really good point. Hold on, I got a little bit of feedback from you. Do you have headphones, or are you? Hold on.
I don't.
Hold on. Let me see if it's me or you. Are you guys getting feedback? I don't know if it's any better for me. Okay, let's try that. So when we talk about these different probiotics and, the fecal transplant, that just came about, that's pretty new as well.
Right.
And that was brought about because of this, why are some people really healthy and other people just can't get there? And so fecal transplants were, let's take poop from a really healthy individual who doesn't have autoimmune and all this history of things, and let's put it into somebody who maybe has Crohn's colitis. And I mean,
C. diff. It started with C. diff.
C. diff. Okay. Which, C. diff is that bacteria that you all probably, thanks, Gil, for that. Good. Let me know if you get feedback again. I'm going to take that out because I feel like I'm screaming into the microphone with that. So I have been testing people, doing gut testing for many years now, and I see so much C. diff. But you all probably have heard of C. diff, like, oh, that's what you get in the hospital and it kills people.
Right.
But I'm here to tell you, people have been living with it for years. They are living with chronic illnesses. And when I reveal to them, you have C. diff, and then they can't believe it. I have to call my doctor. And then their doctor says there's no possible way, because that you can only get in a hospital and it kills people. So with
that, strains of it is what has happened.
Right. But that's the whole point, is that there's this kind of one and done diagnosis. So, what have you seen over the years with C. diff, Jill?
We actually lost one of our functional medicine practitioners to C. diff. Gosh, that would be probably 10 years ago or so, that she was taking care of a couple from Korea who had cancer, and she brought them over here and was rehabbing them, and she got C. diff from them, and she actually passed. She was in her 60s.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Is that Marla?
Patty.
Okay. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, that was tough. Tough. So anyways, there are different strains. And I think our big picture here, Paula, is that we are trying to prepare the gut so that if there is an exposure like that, that you don't go down so easily, right? That your immune system is intact in your intestinal lining. And then you don't get Montezuma's revenge as easily if you're traveling, and food poisoning, all of it, right? They're all bad bugs. And the point is have them prepared in your gut so that they can't replicate so quickly.
And I know a lot of people, okay, I'm thinking that the microphone is too close to your speaker.
Well, it's all in the computer.
Okay. All right. I don't know what the heck is going on there. I'm getting it every now and then. So, okay, there we go. That's a little better.
I moved it back. Let's see if that helps.
Okay. So, I forgot where I was going with that, but, all right. So let's just go right into, how does one know how to choose a probiotic? So, there's so many out there to choose from, and most of the time you'll just walk into CVS and just grab what's on the shelf. So, how are we educating the public today, and talk about the many strains that are out there and why that's so important?
Okay, so let's say Lactobacillus acidophilus. I feel like most people have heard that, or L. acidophilus.
That's what you usually see in your yogurt, on your yogurt container, right?
With you, yes. Mm-hmm. So there are over 40 different strains of Lactobacillus acidophilus. And so what that analogy is Lactobacillus acidophilus is a dog. And which kind of dog? Do we have a poodle? Do we have a German Shepherd? And the only way that you're going to know that it's been identified, that particular strain, if it's a poodle or German Shepherd, is by letters or numbers after the Latin name acidophilus, right? And so if there are no letters and numbers after the name, you have no idea what kind of dog you have. And you don't really want a Chihuahua, you want a German Shepherd, right? So that is telling you that brand is not labeling it properly. And I would never ingest it.
And also with that, wasn't there a company that put letters and numbers after the strain on the label, and then it was found out by the FDA that was actually not, they faked it, right? I feel like it was like GNC or something did that, but this is why it's so important. So we're going to give you some guidelines, but then we got to tighten up those guidelines too. So yes, you should be looking at letters and numbers, but then what's the company quality, and is that a reputable company that you're buying something from? So that's a great point about, all the multiple strains that you could get. It also, so with that, the letters and numbers tell you that it's been tested. It does what it's supposed to do. Let's say it's going to get past the stomach acid or through the gallbladder and get down to the small intestine. So those letters and numbers are critical, so you know that it's going to do what it needs to do. So what else on that, Jill?
So probiotics can come from different sources. They can come from human, and it's a fermentation process of replicating them to be able to put them into a bottle. It can come from a cow. It can come from dirt. Those are probably the main sources that you can buy out there. And so working with human source has the most research, and that the human body is going to accept as own, right? Because really what we're trying to do is get this probiotic to grow in your intestinal lining by itself. That is the ultimate plan.
And so many people have altered. I'll tell you what, turn your speaker down on your, maybe that's it.
Okay.
Just turn your speaker down. Let's see if that helps. So there's so many people who are walking around with altered gut dysfunction, candida, mold, fungus, C. diff, SIBO. There's so many different gut issues that can take place. So, and a lot of people will go on a antibiotic for something, when really, if we were to actually restore gut function, then you might not need the antibiotic. You might not get sick in the first place. Never a guarantee, but certainly hedges your bets on that one.
Right.
When we're talking about these probiotics, I think it's also important to talk about making sure, if you do go on an antibiotic, oftentimes, I think maybe people are a little more aware now that they should take a probiotic, but there's a very specific type of probiotic that we recommend. And if you have to do that, or any other medications really, and it's a pretty special one. So it's not the new one yet, though yet. So,
okay.
So Jill, talk about that one. Which strain should people take if they are taking a probiotic or steroids or something like that?
Well, I don't know where to turn down my microphone, Paula, so I'm working on that. But okay. I click on the cute little microphone emblem, and then I get a million things that doesn't have volume.
The sound? What about this? Do you have a little sound button? No, don't turn down your microphone. Turn down your speaker.
All right.
So make it not as loud.
And then, so speaker, where would I find speaker?
Because I think your speaker's probably loud. So when I talk, it's getting picked up in the microphone, and then
good time
giving feedback.
Okay. I tell you what, you answer that question, Paula, and okay. I'm going to find speaker and try and fix it.
Okay, perfect. And then the next time we do this, we'll make sure you got some headphones on you. So you don't have like these, do you? You don't have a pair of these hanging out?
I'm sure I do. I would have to go dig.
Your children probably stole them.
100%. I was going to say, if Phoenix was here, he would be able to handle it.
So Gil says, see if echo canceling is turned on in Streamyard, and Jill's computer settings button at the bottom of the screen, click on audio. Okay, let me hit noise.
Okay, click on audio.
Thank you. Gil's like my.
Oh, I need a Gil.
Yeah, echo cancellation is on. Reduce mic background noise. That's new. I don't know if that's me or
microphone. I'm not getting an audio. I have speaker headphones. So okay.
How do you? Yeah, if you're listening,
good.
How do you turn your volume up or down? That's all. If you're trying to listen.
How does that sound? Is that better?
Well, it would be me talking, testing, that I'm not hearing it now. So that might be a little better. Okay.
Great.
Okay. Right. We're going to go with that for a minute. Okay.
I know how to get to it. Okay. All right, Paula. So, I mean, honestly, there are probably 20 different probiotic combinations to consider for people. And that's why working with a clinician like yourself is going to make it custom to what you need. Are you more of a hard stool individual? Are you more of a loose stool individual? Are you really sensitive to food allergies, and then you get a reaction to them? So we can help prevent such a severe reaction if you are exposed to a food sensitivity through customizing their probiotics. We can play with dosage according to all of those things that I just listed here. So I guess what I'm trying to teach is that working with a clinician is your best bet, so that it's actually doing what it's supposed to be doing.
Yeah. And that, I think that's where a lot of people, we're still echoing. I think a lot of people, we are not playing right now. Okay. And if you shut this live down, there could be some consequences for you. So everybody in my chat is used to hearing Bentley go absolutely out of his mind when we start live on here. Yeah, I think that, I see so many people who come into my office. They're still sick. They've been trying to do the things all on their own. Their doctors may or may not have told them that supplements don't work, don't bother. Their labs are totally normal, but they still know they're sick. So there's an interesting, I'll use an example of a patient I had yesterday who 20 years ago got diagnosed with fibromyalgia. She came in, her face is lit up red, so rosacea, so food allergy, food sensitivities. She's overweight. She can't lose weight. Her skin looks horrible. There's multiple health issues going on, autoimmune thyroid, bowel movements every couple of days. And and I just said to her, I said, well, have you worked with anybody that's helped you figure out what's going on in your gut? She had I can't remember if she had a biopsy, or I think she did have a biopsy in her colon. And I go, okay, but that doesn't tell you what all the bugs are in there. So what we're trying to get across here is that we're talking bugs, we're talking good bugs, bad bugs, and your body needs the good bugs. There's going to be some bad bugs in there, but as long as they're not overgrown, they work in synergy with each other. So to Jill's point, to live 20 years and now she's in chronic pain, and now you're going to live 20 years with a diagnosis that no one was able to help you with. And fibromyalgia is, you've got to eliminate the toxins, you need to restore gut health, and you've got to change your diet. No one ever told her about eliminating gluten. Oh, I think she did say, she said, I did the gluten-free thing. And I hear that multiple times. I did the gluten-free thing. You're scratching the surface. You're 10% in if you did the gluten-free thing. Do you know what bugs live in your gut? Do you know which ones are bad? Do you know which ones are good? Do you know how to kill the bad ones and restore the good ones? Because that's where working with a practitioner comes in to play. So don't just go, I did the gluten-free thing, and throw your hands up and give up, because you need to work with somebody like a functional nutritionist like myself, who has that ability to help see that deeper picture for you. So I just wanted to expand on that and why you should be working with a practitioner. So let's talk. So we talked about the probiotics, making sure you see letters and numbers after the strain. We have, and to Jill's point, we have multiple strains that we could prescribe for people. Also, what happens, Jen, I'm sorry, I'm looking at Dr. Jen here on the screen. Hey, Dr. Jen, let's see that. What happens, Jill, when you see a product and it has probiotics wrapped up in it? So it's the be all end all. It's got probiotics, it's got enzymes. Because I think people look at that and they go, oh, wow, that's cool. Let me take that thing. It looks really good.
What an awesome question. So this is going to be shelf stability is what you're asking me. That, all right, they made this lot and added everything under the kitchen sink into the product, including probiotics, right? Well, probiotics are very acid loving. So they're acidic, acidophilus, helps you remember that. And when you put something alkaline into a lots of ingredients product, the acid is going to win and it's going to denature that other ingredient. So it's an expensive product if all the ingredients are not still viable after being on the shelf for months. So typically you want to do probiotics by themselves. You also are looking at, if you want to do like a maintenance probiotic, typically having multiple strains in your probiotic, including Saccharomyces boulardii, would be my favorite. So Saccharomyces boulardii, here we go. So S. Boulardii, Boulardi.
I'm going to drop
Saccharomyces boulardii is a beneficial yeast that fights Candida and Candida albicans. He's talking. So Candida, you guys, is why we crave sugar. It's why we crave bread. It makes us crabby. It gives us PMS. It gives us rashes. It gives you mucus. So if you have chronic mucus in your sinuses, then you're thinking that Candida is a piece of the pie. Even just allergies. When allergies are kicking up for you, it's probably that Candida is high, and so therefore you have allergies. So using a probiotic on a regular basis that keeps Candida from growing, S. boulardii literally competes with Candida albicans and makes it so it doesn't have a home to be able to inhabit on your intestinal wall, and you can poop it out.
We got to move it through, right?
Yeah.
We got to move it through. So, what I also love about the Saccharomyces boulardii, so I do a lot of gut repair. So again, SIBO, Candida, yeast, mold. This is the other thing too, that there is a hierarchy of things that occur in the gut when it comes to dysfunction. So gut dysfunction. So Jill, so the further upstream you go, so let's say you have Candida. So I've had the occasional person, I've done a Candida cleanse, but if they had SIBO or mold, those are further upstream. So they're never going to get, or even C. diff. So C. diff takes priority on all of that. So if you only do this one thing way down here, you're never going to get far enough upstream to get everything else. So again, just working with somebody who knows and understands what is the hierarchy, what is the priority, what do we do first, and then we can take everything with it. And Saccharomyces boulardii, when we're doing, I don't care if it's a Candida cleanse or SIBO or whatever it is, we're giving you bug killers, which is they're kind of like natural. They are natural antibiotics, natural antifungals, antimicrobials. They're all natural. But we also then want to continue to support the good things in there. And Saccharomyces boulardii allows us to do that. Plus, it also has a little bit of a killing capacity too, doesn't it, Jill?
Yeah, it's competitive.
Yeah.
For the binding site.
Which is, you want it to be able to go in there and say, hey, no, all you bad guys, get the heck out of here.
Yeah.
There's a new guy in town and we're taking over.
It also helps with salmonella poisoning. It helps with Klebsiella and C. diff as well.
I dropped a link to that particular product in the online store. It's called Ultraflora Acute Care. And that is just single Saccharomyces boulardii in a capsule. So, but again, that's one of many in the line. And so, but I think it's really, I think it's a great place to start for most people when we talk about gut health and gut repair. And if you're not feeling well and autoimmune issues and
allergies and
yeah,
rashes and sugar cravings.
So, and it's oftentimes people will go, well, wait, I have sinus. How's my sinuses? I have sinus congestion. I have chronic congestion. I take Claritin every day. I mean, I'm fine. So talk to that a little bit, Jill, while I mute and.
Yes. I know what I'm getting you for Christmas, by the way. We're getting you the D jingle jingle on your dog collar.
Please and thank you.
That's happening.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so Candida. I wanted to point out, you had mentioned a patient had come to you before and said that they have done the Candida killing before. Well, sadly, it's probably back again, is what I want to point out. That, yeah, it's probably a yearly thing that you need to clean up Candida, especially if you headed back into drinking over the summer or having bread or sugar of any sort. It can feed it because you really never can get fully rid of Candida albicans. That it is as old as cockroaches as far as the evolutionary cycle. So they're always going to be there. You're just trying not to feed them lunch.
Yeah. Yeah.
while you're killing them, and then just grappling that you have to come back to killing them later. Yes, sauerkraut and kimchi helps because these are giving you the beneficial probiotics and prebiotics to feed the good guys.
Yeah.
So I agree. Yes, if that's a regular habit of yours.
And also paying attention too, because some people say, oh, I'm eating all these fermented foods, but I'm having trouble. And
That's a SIBO.
Yeah, it can be the SIBO, right? So yeah, do you want to explain what that is, Jill?
So here we go. So SIBO, it's kind of new in the medical world. It stands for small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. And so it means that your bacteria have traveled from the small intestine and started traveling up the tube and are kind of gurgling up into the stomach and causing bloating, causing nausea. Bloating is the big one. Burping, stinky, gas. And so with this type of patient, you usually hold off on giving probiotics until you do a killing phase, and then you come back to it.
And that, yeah, so if you're having your fermented foods and it's getting worse, pay attention to that.
Right.
Just keep, and like same thing with like kombucha. My daughter always, she's like, it's not kombucha. I don't know why I say it like that, but so now I just got used to saying kombucha because it bugs her. So, and
you have a habit. Yeah.
We like to poke our teenagers, right? So yeah. So kombucha. So any of those fermented things, you want to pay attention. I know. Yeah, I know Garden State. It's like, it's so funny. Our teenagers are like, yeah, we get to drive them crazy now. We have another question. What's the best brand of sauerkraut? I'd say make it yourself, Gil, but go ahead. You got a thought?
Yeah, I was kind of thinking like go with a local company of who makes it around you.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't have a favorite.
Also, and before we get into the magic new one, Mandy says, yes, Mandy, make your own. It's easy. I think so. We need Rebel Canners on here and make it by Mandy, and we'll do a sauerkraut making class. I think that'd be fun. So with all of these bugs, and what's interesting too is Jill had mentioned earlier that some of these probiotics, they'll get extracted from dirt. So how many of you, when you grow your garden, do you wash your vegetables after you pick them? So I usually don't. If it came out of my garden, unless it has unless I see the larva from like the cabbage moths or or if it's a rain and if it's muddy or something like that. But for the most part, I leave that dirt on there. All those microbes are living on your food. So you can naturally get these incredible organisms just by eating your dirty vegetables that you grew out of your own garden. So don't be afraid of that. Don't be afraid of the dirt.
I agree, Paula. I am not worried about getting a bug that is going to cause a real problem. But I always want to back up here is that it's your hydrochloric acid in your stomach that is protecting you from any bad bug. So it's the whole tube, it's the beginning of the tube that you got to make sure you have enough hydrochloric acid so then you're not so sensitive to be getting bad bugs from food.
Yes. Okay. Great point. I'm glad you went there, because how many people are on PPIs or proton pump inhibitors, acid blockers?
That's the one we did. That's the third one we did.
We did. Okay.
We did do it.
Third one. Okay.
Yes, we did.
Go back and find that one. I'm going to scroll through and see if I can find it. Gil, if you're on here, I know Gil, I could tell Gil to go find the one that Jill and I did on Jen. I know Rebel Canners. Jill, you need to follow Rebel Canners. She's got a great channel. She's a couple hours north of here.
Nice.
A lot of food preserving, really, really great channel. So, but anyway, yeah. So the fact that most of us are We have a highly processed diet that will decrease your acid. If you are taking any medication whatsoever, that affects the acid. If you are taking an acid blocker, Tums, anything like that, you're decreasing the acid in your stomach. And I think Jill and I had this conversation the other day about what did you say? I said little peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. What was your analogy?
English muffin.
English muffins. Yeah. So good. I'll let you talk about the English muffin analogy when there's not enough acid in the stomach and why that happens. So
that's my leaky gut analogy.
Yeah.
And autoimmune triggering. So what the English muffin analogy is every time you eat wheat, which in America is every meal, really. And so English muffin is my example, and it's going through your tube. And when you have leaky gut, which all of us really do, then it passes through your tube and it becomes a foreign molecule. And you're not supposed to have English muffin floating around in your bloodstream. So you get antibodies that come in and attack it, but then those antibodies have a little flag for wheat. And so now from here on out, you're going to develop antibodies every time you eat English muffin. So it's not necessarily from birth. It has been developed, and leaky gut is what contributes to developing a sensitivity to foods. Because a lot of people will try and convince you that, oh, no, I can handle it. It's like, well, maybe last year you could handle it, but you have had an illness, you've had a stressful event, the answers of how you can get leaky gut.
Life. It's called life, right?
Yeah.
And if you have any autoimmune issue whatsoever, and yes, I always have to remind people that thyroid is autoimmune. I think it's just so common to have a thyroid issue, and people are so convinced that just because they're taking medication and it's regulated, that it's not actually autoimmune, but you better figure out the cause of that. And so if you have a thyroid issue, pay attention to that. You absolutely 100%, any autoimmune issue whatsoever, have leaky gut, period. Right. You can't have disease with a fully functioning, super healthy gut. It's super less likely to happen. So I'm not going to say never, but your gut is the first place that you need to focus. And so, yes, so we don't want little English muffins floating around. And when we look at, people will often say, oh, I get this, I had a scope, I've had acid reflux. And so they get put on acid blockers because there's too much acid coming up. And the problem there is that you actually don't have enough acid. You have valves all through your I'm going like this because this is how your gut works, right? It sort of needs, it's called peristalsis. It needs all the food, KNEADS, all the food through your gut. So when you have enough acid in your stomach, it sends a signal to the brain to send a signal to the valve to shut completely. So people will say, oh, I had a scope and my valve is floppy. It's not closing all the way. I'm like, yeah, because you need to trigger the signal in your brain. So let's get the acid up, and then that will force those valves to close. It's a multifactorial thing. I know I've just simplified it by saying this. Uncle Al says, eat kimchi on English muffins. That's funny.
But that's always gluten-free English muffins. Peeps.
Yeah. And so if all the proper bugs are going all throughout your gut, and it goes from acid to alkaline is how your gut makes this shift. And everywhere in your gut, all the different parts, those valves are opening and closing based on the pH. So if you have the proper pH, the valves will open and close properly and floppy. And that's how we get SIBO. So SIBO means that bacteria that was in one part of the gut migrated into the small intestine, and it shouldn't be there. And so we have to go kill that stuff in there and then come back through to make sure the valves open and close properly. So did I do a good explanation on that one?
I like it. The only thing that I would add to it is hydrochloric acid in the stomach. You're supposed to have it, just like you were explaining. And a way to describe it of what reflux is so everybody is producing some hydrochloric acid when you eat, right? But if the food is not breaking down, it's putrefying if it's protein, it's rancidifying if it's fat, or fermenting if it's carbohydrate, and that makes gas bubbles. And then those gas bubbles in the stomach are going to be coated in hydrochloric acid because you're producing some, and then that bubble will come up and hit through your esophagus and burn because it's the gas bubble bringing it up. But what we're trying to do is make it so you don't produce so many gas bubbles by giving hydrochloric acid every time you eat. And so burping and gas and bloating with a meal is telling us you need more hydrochloric acid. So we use Medigest. Medigest is 750 milligrams of betaine HCl, and then you take 1 to 3 with a protein meal. So perfect for Thanksgiving next week, you guys. I will be handing out Medigest and digestive enzymes at my table.
And I'm traveling, so I will be taking it with me.
Good.
Yeah. Always, I'm going to drop the link to that as well.
Are you going to Arizona?
We're going to West Virginia. We're hopping in the car and heading down to see the family down there. So
nice. You got to say West Virginia.
What's that? I know, West Virginia. Yep. Jen is asking Uncle Al why he keeps yelling in all caps. And if you want, it's easier for me to see the questions if they're asked in all caps. So yeah, that's why he's yelling at us. So Uncle Al actually asks, is sourdough products good for the gut?
That's a great question.
It's a really good question.
Yeah, sourdough breaks down the gluten. So there's still gluten there, but it's way less gluten. It does break it down. So great question.
And if you can naturally ferment your sourdough, even better. So, and I like my sourdough really sour. So, yeah, the more of that fermentation you can get in there, the better off you'll be. So perfect.
All right, so let's go back to probiotics.
Yep.
So I think we should do the drum roll, please, that we are headed to the new kid on the block. All right.
Yep. Go ahead. Okay. So drum roll, please.
Drum roll.
This new reset it. So I know you said that in the beginning, but we had a lot of people jump on. So this is the Skinny People's Probiotic. Okay.
Okay. So this.
You
talk excited. Okay. Akkermansia mucinophilia is what it's called. So Akkermansia, Akkermansia, Akkermansia. So this probiotic, my friends, I'm gonna repeat what we said a little earlier. It naturally occurs in our human guts, 1 to 5%. More is better. So the more you have of it, the skinnier typically you are, and the less inflammation that you have. So yes, we have done a human clinical trial. Actually, not we, but the researchers of Akkermansia have done a human clinical trial in Belgium, with the university in Belgium. And they tested a placebo versus Akkermansia live version and Akkermansia pasteurized version. I'm not going to go too deep into the differences on these, but the bottom line is that folks only took 1 capsule a day for 3 months and no dietary changes. These were all insulin resistant people, not frank diabetics, but they were all overweight individuals. And on average, they lost 5 pounds, and 3 pounds was fat pounds. We can't hear you, Paul. And hip circumference
over
came
what
down
period of time? Sorry.
3 months. 3
Okay.
months. So hip circumference came down a full inch. That sounds like a full dress size to me.
Uh-huh.
That sounds pretty exciting. Okay, so I'm going to be kind of technical, so flow with me here, because I want to teach you something new along here. I don't want to be fluffy and just use fluffy words. I want to teach.
Let's do it. Dive in.
So there's terms called insulinemia and insulin sensitivity. They measured this in these patients. They tested them every 2 weeks for 3 months, and their insulinemia came down 34%.
Wow.
34% is what medications would deliver and get approved to create change. I mean, that's a lot of change. And so what that means is that the amount of insulin in response to a carbohydrate went down in the bloodstream 34%.
That's huge.
It is. And then insulin sensitivity means that the insulin actually found its receptor site and gave its message into the cell to make energy. So there's the spelling, akkermansia. So insulin sensitivity means that you have more energy and that you can think better. Your brain's going to work better and you're going to burn more fat because you have more energy. Yes. Yeah, they call it thermogenesis. Okay, so cholesterol went down 8.7%. So cholesterol, my analogy here is that 8.7% doesn't sound like a giant number, but it actually is a statistical value of the same as plant sterols. So plant sterols are what the FDA allows our industry to make claims of bringing cholesterol down, which is also 8%. So my point is that the FDA is excited enough about 8% to allow the industry to make claims. And in this human trial of akkermansia, cholesterol went down 8% as well. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so the big one. And this is where we're going to come back.
More big ones? There's so many big ones.
We're coming back to the English muffin analogy, Paula.
Okay.
Okay. LPS. This is technical. Follow me. It's exciting. This is a way for researchers to test if you have leaky gut or not. So LPS, it stands for lipopolysaccharides. These are the byproducts of bad bugs in your pooper tube. They are testing it in the bloodstream. And so what they're looking for is how many byproducts of bad bugs have transferred into the bloodstream where they're not supposed to be. So you don't want LPS in the bloodstream. That means you have leaky gut. If it's transferring from the pooper into the bloodstream, it's doing that because your tissue is too weak and it's allowing bad bug particles or it's called endotoxins to get into the bloodstream. So the statistic of akkermansia was it lowered these bad bug debris to get into the bloodstream by 117%.
Oh my gosh. Major leaky gut repair on that one. Holy moly.
That's a really, that's the like
massive.
Whoop,
yeah.
Whoop.
Yeah.
Because leaky gut is responsible for autoimmune. It's responsible for bloating. It's responsible for constipation and diarrhea and alternating constipation diarrhea, for all of these chronic digestive disorders, as well as
anxiety, depression, brain fog. Yeah.
It's like the mother load.
Yeah.
To be able to hit blood sugar and leaky gut with
I feel like everyone should be on this one.
I agree.
Yeah.
I can't think of someone who wouldn't be.
Yeah.
I can't. And it's naturally occurring.
Tested?
So you can do a GI effects test to see how much akkermansia. It's under the commensal bacteria, which means the good ones that you naturally have. But what I've been taught is that doing one of the stool tests for akkermansia cannot always be accurate because akkermansia lives really far in the distal colon. And so it's not always scooped as your stool goes through.
That's what I was wondering. Stool, is it blood? Is it urine?
Stool.
Stool. Okay.
But you don't need to test everybody to administer it because it's naturally occurring in us anyways. So you can go with the clinical picture.
And I was going to say, yeah, just given the, like you say, the clinical picture, and then what we know it can do through these clinical trials is like, just freaking take it. Like, let's not even spend money on a test. And you and I both know that when we help people through functional medicine, that oftentimes it's like, listen, I don't need to test, and I'm not guessing.
Right.
But sometimes we do need to test, because if somebody is really complex, we don't want to guess. But this seems to me like the type of thing where I could easily put everybody on this and know that they're going to get some level of benefit from it.
I agree.
Yeah.
So two more big points on this topic. So we're healing leaky gut. In this human clinical trial, we got 117% lowering of the transfer of bad bugs into the bloodstream. I need another moment on that.
I know, right?
Okay.
Who else needs a moment on that?
Garden State Gardener, I will answer you after we get through the akromansia thing. Okay, so another couple of markers were liver markers, Paula. 2 liver markers, AST and GGT, which are typical blood panel liver markers, were lowered by 19% and 24%. And the researcher commented that it's because the transfer of the bad bugs, those LPSs, into the bloodstream made it so there wasn't so much inflammation and debris floating in your bloodstream that rips up the liver. And so it's the leaky gut healing that allowed the liver enzymes to normalize. Beautiful.
Love it. I mean, this is why gut repair is so important. And if you aren't paying attention to what's happening in your gut, and again, Joe from Garden State Gardener, with the diverticulitis, it's like, yeah, taking out parts of your bowel, it's like, this is all they have, right? So there are ways to repair, and that really should be the last of anything for diverticulitis is surgery, and then we can, it should just be the last resort, because now what do you do?
So think of diverticulitis as it's like your intestine has little balloons that have formed. Well, that's weak tissue that allowed those balloons to form. And so that's one giant leaky gut conversation. And so in the end, we're still giving you akromansia because we're trying to heal that lining. And that's its big magic of what this product does.
Yeah, just comment. Getting the
tissue
back. I was going to say that's where the aloe, so glutagenics is a combination of aloe and deglycerized licorice, and that goes in, and we also have endorphin, which also helps. So think of everything that we do when you have leaky gut. Think of your gut as hot and red like a sunburn. And so we have to go in and calm everything down and allow it to get the inflammation down. And then, of course, close up those gaps from the leaky gut, so your peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and your English muffins don't get floating through your bloodstream anymore.
Yes.
So, yeah. Any other stats on that, Jill?
So tight junctions is how we would further describe this healing of leaky gut. And so tight junctions are, think of the last fence between your tube of your GI tract and the bloodstream. And so tight junctions kind of do this. And then when there is a gluten food sensitivity reaction, they open and then they can close again. But gluten is notorious for opening these tight junctions. And that's what allows English muffin to get into the bloodstream and create inflammation. And so your knee pain and your joint pain can be leaky gut, because now it's in the bloodstream and it can be a free-for-all of where it ends up.
Yeah, it's sometimes I feel like I sound like a broken record when I say to people, it's your gut. It's your gut. Like I'm saying this all day long. You know, have you ever had your gut tested? Have you ever done anything to heal your gut? You know, whether again, it's autoimmune or migraines, chronic pain, rashes. I had a patient a couple of weeks ago, and I went to adjust him. He was a new patient, and he had all the bumps on the backs of his arms.
Yeah.
And when I laid him on the table, and I went, oh, I said, that you've got some pretty good food sensitivities going on there. And he was like, what? And he said, oh, the dermatologist told him it was just, what did I say? It was like too much protein intake or something like that.
It was. Yeah, you told me that.
I'm like, no, that's actually not. So your skin is amazing. Your skin is it's the primary filtration system. It detoxifies. It's a bigger detoxifying organ than your liver. And so when your body doesn't like something, it's going to push it out to get rid of it. So that's why we'll see acne, rashes, eczema, psoriasis, hives. All of that is your body's trying to get rid of something it doesn't like. And the more chronic it is, again, paying attention, it's probably, you got to get it out of your gut too, because your gut's supposed to filter things. So when it can't, your body's going to push everything out through other channels. So, yeah,
so last thing on Akkermansia is that it builds up the mucin layer. And so the mucin layer is what makes everything slippery. So this product is really amazing for constipation and helping with having more stool more often in the day, that it's just a smooth, move it out and you're done. Yeah.
And don't be fooled, you guys, if you or someone you know says, well, I have, I poop twice a week, or I poop 3 times a week. That's normal for me. I've done that all my life. That is not normal for anyone. This is not like, if your body temperature, if normal body temperature is 98.6, I run about 97.9. Somebody else might run a little hotter. That's normal for that person. But not pooping every day, a minimum of 1 to 2 times a day,
right.
That's what's normal. And if you are not having regular daily bowel movements, then there's a problem, and it's affecting multiple other things. So I feel like you could easily start with the Akkermansia, and I know Jill and I always we don't want to throw too much at anybody, but again, we're all complex humans. So, but what's the simplest of things? We can help you understand how to do some dietary change, and then just start taking these supplements and see what happens. If you don't have enough of one bug, you can clearly see how it's affecting your body and your health.
Yes. So I can keep talking about it, Paula, but that was the nitty gritty.
How about, would you have low iron levels if you have leaky gut too?
That's a great question. Yes. When there are any nutrient deficiencies in your body, it's because you're not absorbing properly. And so your gut tube is actually lined with mycelia. There are these little hairs that line your gut. Yes. And then when you have leaky gut, when you have gluten intolerance, it shaves those hairs. So now, instead of this amount of surface area for absorption, you only have a shorter amount of absorption space. So low iron is notorious to be gluten and leaky gut. Yes.
And your vitamin D levels usually go hand in hand with your iron as well. Those are the big ones that we see quite often. Is anemia is due to iron and B vitamin deficiencies. And again, it's probably your gut. Got to heal the gut. And clearly, you, Joe, with having the diverticulitis and the resections, that's a big deal. So what can we do to help you now? So, again, you go in to have these surgeries, not you, the you collective, whether it's a gallbladder, whether it's a gut, whatever it is. But then you're not actually told, okay, well, okay, we took that out. You're fine. Bye. Peace out. Go eat how you've been eating. No, it's how do you now live the rest of your life? You've got to unwind those habits, and you have to be able to say, what caused this to begin with? And how do I not go down that path again? So how do what do you need to repair that caused the problem in the first place? A lot of people have their gallbladder removed, and they're like, the doctor's like, no, you're fine. You are not fine if you get a gallbladder removed, and you are guaranteed a leaky gut if you already had it if you had your gallbladder removed, but now it's just even that much worse. So yeah. Any thoughts on that one, Jill?
So on Joe, I think he needs digestive enzymes rather than only cooked vegetables. He probably needs hydrochloric acid also. And he probably needs to do a full food sensitivity panel. I don't want to forget to bag on glyphosate or Roundup, because our gluten and our wheat is no longer wheat, right? It's a frankenfood. And so you can go to Europe and actually eat the wheat there and not have sensitivities. You know what I learned, Paula? You may already know this, but apparently for dried pasta in Italy, it takes them a year before they will release it. And so there's a breaking down of the amount of gluten that's in it, where in America, it's only 3 weeks.
Wow.
And they release it.
I did not know that.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's a completely different product. But eating American wheat is exposing you to glyphosate or Roundup, and that is creating leaky gut. So that's one of the reasons why you hear Paula and I over and over bringing up wheat as the problem, is that we eat too much of it, and it's a frankenfood, and you're eating Roundup every time you eat it. And so that is ripping up the lining of your gut.
And it doesn't disappear. It stays in the soil. It stays in the food. As I say, the dangerous part about it, it's all dangerous. There's so many parts that are dangerous about using Roundup, but see, you as a consumer, just like when I talk about being able to walk into a drugstore and buy drugs off of the shelf with the perception that they're safe, because if they weren't, why would I be able to buy it? You can go buy Roundup and apply it however you want, over and over and over again. And typically when farmers are using it, they are in hazmat suits, and they can only apply so much. Now, it still doesn't make it better, but as the consumer, you have no idea what you're doing with that. That is a lifelong, it's one of the forever chemicals that I talk about. It's probably the worst forever chemical, that Teflon. So yeah, don't think that just because you can use it over the counter, I don't know what you call a pesticide like that you can walk in and buy, but don't think commercial product that it's safe for you. So, so it's definitely not. Joe says, we don't use Roundup, I grow organic. Nice job. Nice job.
Me too, Joe.
Yeah,
Me too.
Same. That's why
the bummer is restaurants are not being organic. And so you're getting it there.
And I don't know if, Joe, you were on earlier when, did you hear me say how we go out into the gardens and we just eat from the garden? We don't bother washing it. So you're probably the same way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So another thing too on this with Joe, I had problems eating red meat, and he seemed to be starting to have gluten issues. You've had gluten issues all along. Jill and I will tell you that for sure. And but the red meat, here's the thing, depending on, and even the organic sources of red meat, it might not be the red meat. It's the chemical that gets sprayed on the carcass to help it age. So it's usually a citric acid. It's a food grade something or other, but it's usually like a corn-based citric acid something. So there's chemicals that get sprayed on the animals, cows and pigs. Actually, the chemical that gets sprayed on pigs is ridiculous. It starts with an R. I can't remember it, but it could be that you're not actually having sensitivities to the red meat as much as you're having sensitivities to the chemical that gets put on the animal. And that does not have to be labeled. So that's on all commercial meat. So, and even the organic meat as well.
And so also with the red meat, that's a very dense protein to digest. So I'm back to digestive enzymes and hydrochloric acid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right,
Yeah,
liver for breakfast. I love it. We have a good community here.
I know, it's great.
Liver for breakfast. That's awesome.
I know, it's awesome. My mom raised us on, we ate chicken liver once or twice a week. And you know why? It was cheap, but I loved it. So we didn't know that it was, you know, we had sweetbreads, which I think is it's the glands or something.
Brain, isn't it?
It might be brain.
I think it's brain.
We had tongue. Yeah, we ate all the organ meats growing up. So, but yeah, many people like you, we should be eating organ meats. We've demonized the organ meats, but only from organic sources, because you do not want to eat the liver of a commercially grown animal, because the liver is what houses all those toxins. So yeah, you do have to draw the line on that one. It can
I agree.
Be organic. Yep. I was gonna say something else. So let's see, we touched on the Akkermansia. We talked about getting the whole gut tube healed from the hydrochloric acid all the way through. We talked about what to look for in a probiotic. There are multiple forms. And if you're not sure and you have autoimmune issues, you do need to contact me or some functional nutritionist that who can help you through the process. Certainly people, as I said earlier, there's ways to just go, oh yeah, this is easy, got it, clear cut, get you started on something. But like Joe, Garden State Gardener, for somebody like you, I would not just, I mean, I would say you can easily start with Akkermansia, but if you really want to get to the root cause of this, you are somebody I would say, let's test it. Let's not guess it. And we can get you started and start healing you, because it's been there a long time if they've had to do those kinds of interventions. So
yeah, that was 20 years ago. He had that.
Yeah. So Jill, Sunday, so Joe at Garden State Gardener has a show called Sunday Fun Day. He has multiple shows on YouTube. And I was on his show a few weeks ago, and he has graciously invited me to be a co-host this Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern time. Is it 8 or no, 7 p.m. Eastern time, to interview Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn. Do you know who that is?
I don't.
My God, it's no fun telling people who don't know who that is.
Well, tell me who it is.
So he did the whole Forks Over Knives. He's a big plant-based guy. He's probably buddies with, he's been in, like, if you see Joel Kahn in the movies, he's always with Joel Kahn in the documentaries, right? So these are all, they're all the plant-based buddies. So it's going to be a really interesting, and quite an honor, actually, because he's pretty darn well known. And Joe, you'll have to tell me at some point how you got him on there. I know Joe's LOLing it. Joe doesn't know. I'm shocked that you don't know. So yeah. Anywho, so yeah. And Dr. Ron says that's huge. So definitely tune in on Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern time. I'm sure I'll have the link here shortly to share with you all. And we're going to talk about what Dr. Esselstyn has to say with regards to plant-based diets. Hi, kitty. It's all the animals. We got Bentley. We got your kitty.
This is Mama.
Oh, that's Mama. Okay.
Mama.
So yeah, there's, actually, I had reached out to, Dr. Wolfson, who I interviewed on Sunday, got some really great questions from him. He's a paleo heart doctor. He and Dr. Joel Kahn are buddies. And if you watch them both on, they
like to banter, I'm sure.
They like to banter. It's really fun. So Dr. Wolfson gave me some good questions to ask Dr. Esselstyn with regards to plant-based diet. And I think it's gonna be a really great interview. So we have that. Do you guys have any other questions on probiotics? You can drop them in the chat. You can also email me. The email is in the about section. of this channel. And don't forget to tune in. What's today? Wednesday. Tune in tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern, where we talk Chiropractic is Sexy with Dr. Erica Peabody. And then I will be back on Sunday for my live, and then I'll be jumping on with Joe from Garden State Gardener. Saturday night, 8 p.m. with Dr. Boggs over on Campanton Family Compound and Gray Man Prepping. So lots of cool stuff coming up, and we'll have all those links. I'll be sharing all of that. But yeah, you'll see me around for sure. And I just want to say, Joe, this is great. We'll be doing more of this because there's so much to talk about in the world of nutrition, functional medicine, and we'd like to bring you the information that is, clinically based, and, don't just go out there and start buying stuff randomly. And Kenny, where have you been? Got to say hi to my buddy, Kenny.
So I think we're going to do ADHD next time, Paula.
Yes. Yeah. We could. Yeah.
Topic.
Okay. So ADHD, we could let's plan that in 2 weeks after Thanksgiving. How's that sound? So,
okay.
So
I think we have December 4th on the schedule.
Okay, perfect. Oh yeah. So we could do it in the office too. And so Joe, real quick sidebar on this. I was on par for 1,000 by the end of this year. And all the lives, all the videos I've been doing. And I checked my stats and it says I'm now on track. And also I've lost like 10 subscribers in the last week, even with all the videos, even with all the new subscribers. And it says that I'm now on track for 1,000 subscribers by November 2024. So I don't know what's going on with YouTube, but something happened in here. But it ain't exactly clear. Yeah. So, and then Joe has me doing a 5-minute health segment on his Grow Big TV on Thursdays. So we'll talk details on that when that's coming out too. So lots of fun stuff. For real, 2024 is what it shifted to. I no idea why or what, and I've lost subscribers this week. So y'all who are on here who have your subs, let me know. YouTube they're pulling some fast ones, I think. So, all right. That being said, we can talk all those. Maybe we should just all jump on and go, what the heck is going on? Yes, they are scrubbing subscribers. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know, but they're not allowing me to grow. So I'm doing all the things. Yeah. So, all right. So that's that. Those are details. We don't need to, continue on with that and bore Jill with all of our YouTube talk about subscribers. So, all right, Jill, thanks so much for being here. Remember, drop your questions. I hope this was helpful. Please remember to like and subscribe, hit the thumbs up button, all those fun things. And we will see you guys on the next one. All right. Thanks for showing up. We'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.